Welcome to the blog for this week. It's COVID time, as it is every week, but it's a great announcement today that we've moved out of the regional boundaries. So trainers, you can take your horses and owners across the boundaries and compete wherever you like. What will occur next week on October 1 is the protocols for the reintroduction of people at a larger number will be instigated by the clubs. Now, Maurice Logue has done a wonderful amount of work with the individual clubs to organise this. However, what I need to say to patrons is that there is a big impost on clubs. There are a lot of people required to make sure we follow New South Wales health orders. So be patient with clubs, take what we've got to offer, and just remember that eventually the COVID situation will end. Of course, social distancing is something that's really important, and when it comes to wearing masks, that's a choice when you are a member of the public. However, for participants, the mask will still be continued for at least the next little while. Hopefully next week we'll have more news, and as we move on, as I say, the COVID situation will cut back a little bit. So that's COVID for this week. What else do we have this week? We have the Breeders' Challenge in the second round of the major series for 2-year-old colts and geldings and 2-year-old fillies. They kick off basically today. Riverina Paceway this afternoon. Great races there. And of course, Newcastle tonight, where we have 4 races, 2 for each division. Next week on Tuesday, Menangle in the afternoon. There's 1 heat of the fillies and 2 heats of the colts. A little bit skinny on the numbers there, and Bathurst, of course, on the Wednesday night. We then move into the second round of the 3-year-old divisions before we come to the semi-finals in October, with the major final on the 24th of October. The Board of Harness Racing New South Wales yesterday signed off on what the hospitality arrangements will be for the Breeders' Challenge final. They will be somewhat cut back because of the restrictions of COVID-19. However, the board still sees that we need to have owners of these horses competing in the finals of not only the Breeders' Challenge, but also the TROTS New South Wales finals. So please, once again, bear with us. We're doing what we can to provide for you everything we have in harness racing. We've got the prize money, the Breeders' Challenge, which we carried over, and of course we've got this hospitality component, and we wish you all the best through the rest of the heats of the series and then into the semi-finals and the finals. The racing highlights of the week past commenced with Leeton last Friday afternoon, when Ellen Bartley trained a winning treble with Jillaby Lolly, I'm a Shy Guy and Geldof, whilst Blake Jones also landed a treble with Ellen's first 2 and Altimeter for Tony Peacock. The performances of Neil and Amy Day's Dance Away and David Kennedy and Jackson Painting's Rock and Roll Runner makes for exciting racing in the Breeders' Challenge 2-year-old colts and geldings division. Dance Away is in the Breeders' Challenge heat today at Riverina Paceway. At Newcastle on Friday night, there was an even spread of winners. However, Paul Morgan trained a double with Never Know Charlie and 3 Smooches, whilst Roy Roots and Tom Ison also landed a double with Call Me Matty and 1 Reason. The 2 fillies, 3 Smooches and 1 Reason, are engaged in the Breeders' Challenge heats tonight at Newcastle. At Tabcorp Park Menangle on Saturday night, Craig Cross had 4 winners, Luke McCarthy 3, and Kerry Ann and Robbie Morris landed a double. Kerry Ann also trained 2 second-placed horses to Craig Cross. But for a successful protest by Jack Callaghan on Rockita, those stats would have been different for Kerry Ann. The judge couldn't separate Rockita and have time, but the stewards did following a protest. At Dubbo on Sunday afternoon, the feature race was a time-honoured Western Districts Derby, which predominantly has been won by colts or geldings, but this year was taken out by classy filly Gendon Strike for Chris and Anthony Frisbee. There were 8 different winning trainers and drivers at the meeting, and all credit must go to the track team at Dubbo, who had the track prepared for the predicted rain, which did fall and pushed the meeting back to start a bit later than schedule. The importance of track preparation leading into race meetings needs to be adhered to by all clubs and not simply blame the surface. It was fantastic to have Canberra back racing on Monday night. Kerry McDowell trained 2 winners in Picasso, driven by Leighton Green, and Kezimak, driven by Ellen Rickson, with Kerry being the only trainer or driver to have a double. 2-year-old I Can Bolt, which won for Brad Hewitt, is in the Breeders' Challenge heat today at Wagga. Luke McCarthy drove 4 winners at Menangle on Tuesday, including the impressive Barroom Banter, which won by 26 metres in 1:51.8. The Colt by Rock and Roll Dance from Gerarda Ace, which was bred by Ray Carl, has been transferred to New South Wales to contest the Breeders' Challenge by Victorian trainer Michael Stanley. It was also great to have Albury back racing after 6 months, and the double from trainer Tony Peacock was the highlight. Tony combined with Blake Jones with Altimeter and It's Blue for Boys. Blake Jones also landed a third winner in Jillaby Lolly, which, like Altimeter, had won last Friday at Leeton, beating the handicapper. At Bathurst on Wednesday night, Justin Reynolds landed a double with I'm the Village Star for his grandfather Russell and Presidential Dude for his father David, with all other races shared between trainers and drivers. Tamworth yesterday afternoon, Ellie Chappell returned to the winner's circle on South Park Expresso, trained by Father Dean and owned by Mother Julie. Ellie was injured at Inverell in March, whilst Greg Coney and Matty Young combined to win the first race with Stormblaster and the last with Alaya's Choice. Unfortunately, race 5 was abandoned, but in accordance with Harness Racing New South Wales policy, owners, trainers and drivers will be covered with prize money. Last night at Penrith, to end the week, there was 9 different trainers and 9 different drivers in the winner's circle, with Morty Braveheart winning the last for former Penrith fullback Mick Leary and Will Rickson at 80-1, which isn't a price on offer for the Panthers for the Rugby League Grand Final. And those were the highlights for the past week. There'll be plenty more coming up, so watch Sky if you want to see all the racing action from New South Wales. Prize money, as we know, is one of the most important components of our sport. Yesterday at the board meeting, the board members elected to survey the owners once again on what the differential should be, if any, between A and B category meetings. What is also in play right at the moment is the allocation of dates for FY22. These are important because the board has committed to conducting 2 race meetings per week per region, one being an A category meeting, the other being a B category meeting. So it's important when that survey comes out that owners do respond, because through that information we can plan the future. The Rising Stars Championships, which are run in conjunction with the Breeders' Challenge, were cancelled this year. However, the board of Harness Racing New South Wales has decided to run a single race, and that race will be conducted on Breeders' Challenge final night on the 24th of October. The drivers who have been selected to contest the series this year are Josh Gallagher, the defending champion, Jack Callaghan, Tom Pay, Blake Hughes, James McPherson, Jake Hughes, Gemma Coney, Bailey Duck, Leighton Green and Phoebe Betts. These drivers represent all areas of the state, and we wish them all the very best in the Rising Stars Championship race for 2020. Also on Breeders' Challenge finals night will be the KARI Indigenous Series race. Like the Rising Stars, the series couldn't be run in its normal format. However, there will be a one-off race. It will be the JC Caffin Plate, and Club Menangle next week will release the names of the Indigenous drivers which will compete in the championships. Also on Breeders' Challenge night will be the TROTS New South Wales finals. And talking about TROTS in New South Wales, one man that was a driving force for so long was Peter Sullivan. Pete unfortunately is in hospital, Nepean Hospital at the moment, so he's looking for visitors. He's the king of trotters, so he's issued a royal decree that if you do want to come and see him, just contact Morris Logue here at Harness Racing New South Wales and he'll make arrangements, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of people calling in to see Peter. Don't miss out on seeing Peter, because he's looking for a bit of a cheer up and he loves telling some great stories from the old days of trotting. Sadly, I acknowledge the passing of Bob Ingham, a life member of the New South Wales Harness Racing Club, a very legendary owner in the sport with his brother Jack when they were known as the Chicken Kings back in the 60s and 70s. Bob passed away at the age of 88 years, but we all remember some of those great horses that he had in years gone by, and his combination with some of the best trainers that harness racing had in those days, such as Percy Hall. To the family of Mr. Ingham, our condolences from the harness racing industry. The foaling season is well and truly on its way for 2020, and foals are arriving on the ground every day. And Success Stud have sent us this lovely photo of a Sweet Lou I Better Fly filly. Jackie, Mary and Jock at Success Stud say she is an absolute stunner. And the photo, I think, proves that. Bred by Alex Smith and Russell Woods, it will be interesting to see if she is ever offered for sale, as the filly is from an exceptional family. That is the blog for this week. Racing, as usual, will be exciting in New South Wales this coming week, but in particular, take note of the Breeders' Challenge 2-year-old heats. We've seen exceptional performance so far in the first round. The second round can only get better.